Well, hello again, and thanks for joining us here, whether you're listening or watching on Tinterweb. Thanks for listening to ShrimpNet, the podcast from the Shrimps Trust. With us today to chat all things shrimpy, we have the human dynamo and almost professional golfer from the boardroom. It's Charlie Appleyard. Charlie, always a pleasure, never a chore. Welcome along.
Evening, guys. Evening.
And for the first time, he's a ShrimpNet virgin. It's first team coach and professional development manager. Have you got any other titles that I can add on there? It's Dave Fitzgerald. Welcome, Dave.
Good evening. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, hard luck getting the short straw, Dave. When they were all stood in a line and they all stood back, you were left stood at the front, weren't you? So there you go. So we start usually with the last couple of games. If you listen to this podcast, you know that I am to clairvoyancy what Joanna Lumley is to non-ferrous welding. But unbelievably, I did predict 4 points from the 3 away games, and I'd be happy with that. And we've ended up with 4 points from the 3 away games. Obviously, a well-earned point at Wombles on Saturday. And then I thought we looked a bit leg-weary on Tuesday night. Plenty of possession, but Walsall did the job on us. And sometimes that happens, Joel. Discuss.
Yeah, I think starting with Wimbledon, I thought they're probably one of the better teams we've played recently. They've been in good form at home, and the way they play, they're effective at. It's 4-4-2. They've got a couple of good wingers in Tilly and Curtis, and then obviously I've been impressed by him in both games, but the number 14, Armani Little, I think he's he gets around the pitch, a lot, he gets stuck in, he's good on the ball, so. They're a decent team, and they've got that kind of top two with Bugle and I can't remember what the new lad's called. Number 10, I think they got him from non-league, didn't they? Kelly. I thought
they both look decent, to be fair.
Yeah, they were. Losing some. Obviously, they've lost some of the best players, and Al Hamady, and replacing him's always going to be a bit of a tough ask, and you're going to have to probably take a bit of a different route with it. And I thought they were just quite effective. They were pretty direct. Bugle won a lot of flick-ons. They got the ball out to wide players. They got lots of crosses in, and I thought in periods I thought we at times dealt relatively well with them. But obviously, they've got that first goal from a cross. I thought the first half though, pretty even. I thought we put together some really nice passing moves. Obviously, we've gotten to Tonda at the back post. He's put it over, unfortunately, but it happens. But then, start the second half, I thought they were pretty sharp, and then they get that goal, and I thought they probably took a bit of momentum from that. And they were probably in top a little bit more in that period after the goal. But then, as has been quite effective in recent weeks, we've made a couple of subs. Squeon's come on, showing a bit of quality, and won us the corner actually, and that we've got the goal from. And then, again, it's not the first time we've seen kind of a bit of good work at a kind of second phase from a set play. I think a lot of our goals against Doncaster were from that when we beat them 5-0. Songo's got it down again, got it down, flashed it across, and it's a really nice finish from Chris Stokes. Just kind of, I'm not quite sure exactly. It's just
Stokes. What a first time finish that was.
I know, lovely. Just off the, I couldn't quite tell if it was off the end of his toe, if he's managed to open his foot out a little bit. But it was a really nice finish.
He'll tell you it was a subtle flick, I'm sure.
Subtle flick, yeah. But it was a lovely finish. And then obviously, I think from the last 15 minutes, it's probably quite even. Both teams are going for it a bit. They've had a header go just wide. We've had William flick over from the corner. So I think 1-1 probably fair from that in the end. And we move on. It's a decent point. A team who are vying for the playoffs and looking pretty good.
And I'll come to you now, Dave. It was one of those games at Wimbledon where it seemed quite cagey until they scored. Then they had, as Joel said, they had a period of fairly good dominance. Then we crept back in it with some decent substitutions. But it was a bit of a crazy last 10, 15 minutes because it was like both sides were determined not to settle for a draw. They were both going for it, and it was quite a decent game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think towards the end we had a good chance with Charlie Brown. He just missed time the header, and I think he could have. That would have been probably, like you say, a bit unfortunate for Wimbledon on the day if we would have took that chance. But it went a little end to end, which was probably a little bit too open to us. But the lads seemed to thrive on that little bit of attacking when we're breaking out. So we are creating some good opportunities from that. It was just a bit of a shame for us on the day. We had a bit of illness overnight, including, I think myself had a little bit dodgy stomach. So it was right through the day. So it affected a couple of players, but they shown, like we said after, the gaffer said after it, they shown great character to come through and shown good energy levels to get through, like you say, and create a couple of chances towards the end. So we were quite pleased coming away from there, especially I think we're one of the few teams who's took points off them. Their home record's very good, so it is a challenge going down there, and they have got some very good players, like you say, Bugle, very good on the day, and he caused us a few problems.
And Charlie, I was happy with the point. Most people who were happy with the point. We drew 0-0 there last season in what was a particularly dull affair. But we did, going down there, they've always got a vociferous crowd behind them. Nice new ground, nice shiny new stadium, full of hope. As Dave's already said, their home record's really pretty good. I'd have taken a point because out of the three games, Tranmere, Wimbledon, and Walsall, it looked like the trickiest one.
Especially when Johnny Jackson sent a lasagna to the Morecambe Team Hotel.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
I was going to comment on that with some sort of Gordon Banks style
Joe Adams,
1970 poisons
Joe
thing.
was absolutely shocking on the bench when he was there before kick-off. He looked really, really ill. Long way to travel for me, 6 miles, and long time to get to the ground. But it was a good game. I enjoyed it. It's end-to-end stuff. Both teams quality. They'd beaten Barrow. They'd beaten Stockport. Or was it Mansfield? But it's just Stockport, Mansfield at home. They'd run a lot of games recently, 6 out of 7 at home, and then we nearly beat them. Charlie Brown's header was really, really so close to being sneaking in the bottom corner, and really, really good result. Considering all the stuff we've been through, I think it's really, really good result, and nice people, Wimbledon. The ground's really good. It's made of corrugated metal, so everyone slams their feet on the floor and on the walls, makes loads of noise. It's really, really good. Really nice people down there. It's really good.
So following on from obviously the information that Jed came out with saying there was illness in the camp, and you, Dave, saying there was a dose of the trots running through the squad. Looking at the Walsall game on Tuesday night, I'll build it as probably a game too far, and we did look a bit. They looked match sharper than us, and we looked a little bit leg weary. And that was just I wasn't there. I was just watching it on iFollow, but it was like we just did look that little bit. It was almost like it wasn't even half a yard; it was quarter of a yard. Do you think the illness probably caught up with us, Dave?
There might have been a bit of awareness because we'd had obviously them 3 trips, but we thought we started the game quite well. The first half, we had created some good opportunities. We were just disappointed with the final ball and not having someone in the box at the end of it. But we were quite pleased how sharp we started, especially the first 15 minutes. We looked as if we were on the front foot.
Yeah, we did start really, really well.
Yeah,
and our possession stats for the entire game were really, really good, weren't they?
Yeah, and we think we were talking, like I say, we were talking about it today, and we said we faded out probably a little bit in the second half. I think the third goal took the wind out the sails. We had a few, I think, key decisions go against us, but that didn't take away from the chances. They took their chances in the first half, and I think that was their little bit of difference. If we would have got that little half a yard or took one of them early chances, I think we could have had a different type of result. But we were pleased, especially with the first half, some of the stuff we played, and obviously playing away from home, having a little bit more possession is something that we're building on. But obviously, we don't want to take away from that attacking style we keep trying to implement. But on the night, we said Jamil Matt was a real handful. He caused a lot of problems. I think that's one of he's played the last 2 games. He caused a lot of problems for Mansfield last Saturday, and we were obviously aware of that. And he did. He put in another good performance, which is something that we've got to keep monitoring, because I think the defenders have been, obviously since I've been in, they've been putting in some real good performances against some tough forwards that we keep coming up against. So it's just one of them games where one of them's had the better of us, and they took the opportunities.
And looking at it, Joel, the difference between the two sides, particularly in the first half, was they, as Dave just said, they took their opportunities. They got a little bit of luck coming back up to the post, and it bounced nicely for them. And another deflection, another sort of like tackle went straight to a guy, and he smashed it in. And we had a couple of half chances where they got a tackle in, and they cleared it. And that's not to decry it. Sometimes it goes for it. Sometimes it goes against you. But I agree with what Dave said there. I thought we were pretty much in the game until the third goal went in, and then we did look a bit crestfallen, didn't we?
Yeah, I think I agree with what Dave said. Really, I think those opening 15. I remember sitting there watching it and thinking, "Oh wow, we're really playing some nice stuff."
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Nothing had quite fallen very openly yet, and there was maybe the odd like heavy touch or final ball that was a little bit askew, but like the approach play and getting to those areas, it was looking really good, and it did feel like we were probably due a really good chance to come. But then, yeah, Walsall have gone up. They've got a corner. I think they've knocked it back in second phase again, and it's looking at what they did to Mansfield on Saturday. They were effective at set pieces and kind of being quite direct with them. And as they said, Jamil Matt was absolutely brilliant, I thought, on the night. By all accounts, he's absolutely dominated Aidan Flint on Saturday. He's an experienced former championship defender, so he's in good form at the moment. And then I think once they get that goal ahead, I thought we still played some good stuff, but
yeah, we knocked it about really
nicely. Still play,
nicely,
especially in that first half. But I think the way that Walsall look like they're trying to play, I think them having the lead, it really does. Some teams don't always necessarily manage it as well, but it felt like they were just that little bit more willing to put an extra body behind the ball, and then obviously when they got their opportunities to go a bit direct and Matt to bully a couple of people and then get a couple of runners up behind him, they took those opportunities, and fair play to me. It was an effective game plan, and it worked. Obviously they've got the goals from that, and then the second half, again it looked like we probably weren't quite as good as the first half. But I thought it looked like we had a bit of a sniff while it was still 2-0, and then it's frustrating that third goal because it is a foul on Stokes in the build-up, and at the end of the day, you're 2-0 down already, and that's ultimately where the damage is, and it's not really if only that the ref had given that as a foul, then we surely would have come back. It's not a given, but it's frustrating that that's the goal that has kind of killed the game, and it's a pretty obvious foul on Stokes. He's just yanked him back by the arm. That's not really allowed, but.
They didn't give the foul on Guion either, and that.
Exactly. That was pretty much the same thing, and again, that wouldn't have really made a difference. 3-0 to 3-1,
No.
But and I think the other thing that I kind of maybe took from the game is it does show when you've not. I think not having Garner in it did show. Just we had good players in the final third, but I think somebody like Garner, he's obviously playing as a centre forward, and he's come through as a centre forward, and he's got that kind of bit of a nose for goal. He's got into lots and lots of good positions in the games he's played for us already. But I guess sometimes you don't always appreciate when you've got a striker doing that. But when they come out the side, you start to really notice that you haven't got that person who's sneaking into that little area, the 6-yard box that the ball might find you in and stuff like that. So I think that was a bit of a miss as well. But hopefully we're back for Saturday, and obviously we've got a new striker in the building as well, which is good as well.
Yeah, I'll come to that.
Into context though, Freeze, they beat Mansfield on Saturday, didn't they?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
Mansfield 9-2 a week ago.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so they're not a bad side, Walsall.
Oh no, and it's funny, Charlie, because that was going to be a question to you, because obviously Walsall currently sitting 16th, and I've just been on their website before, and they're sort of like, we're still in a push for the playoffs, and the 16th, but they're only 3 points behind Harrogate.
Exactly.
We're in the playoffs. That's mad at this time.
The results went our way, didn't they, Wednesday? So we may have lost, but Crawley beat Wimbledon at home.
Yeah.
And then the other two drew, didn't they, the two games?
Yeah. So everything that it wasn't, and I know we've been saying it, and Dave, you've been with us since the Swansea game. You've probably been saying it yourself, but we've been sort of saying on every single podcast this week, just wait till we get our game in hand. And every time we get it gets called off or something happens, and of course we played one of the games in hand, and we lost. But it didn't do us any bloody harm, strangely enough, Charlie.
It's what happened in the promotion season as well. If you remember, I think we had games in hand on everyone else. So we played more games, and people kept on playing the games in hand. They kept on losing.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. But so we'll chat a bit about the surprise signing today, Jordi Iwula. Where did that come from, Dave? Has that been on the cards for a while? Has it been something you've been looking to do because Jed's after another forward, or has he just walked into the building and said, "Hello, I'm Jordi. Can I play for you?"
No, we've had eyes. Obviously, we've been monitoring. When we were speaking with the board, and we always wanted to make sure we had cover around every position. Unfortunately, with Brandon picking up the injury as well, it just took a little setback. But we've always kept an open mind and just seeing if there was a bit of manoeuvre to bring in another forward. And Jordi is someone who's, like I say, I've been aware of from the past, and he's basically got in touch, and we looked at him coming in training. So we said we're not sure where it will lead, but he's come in, and he fits into something that we're looking for. He's a different type of forward than what we've got in the building. He offers something different, a good bit of experience. He's literally scored goals at everywhere he's been, and he's got good experience around League One, early career around Championship teams. So he's someone who can bring that, obviously, hopefully, that little bit of extra that we can do in that final third where we need that little change now and then.
So I'm interested to hear what does he bring to the table that's different to what we've already got?
Just that extra little bit for finishing around the box. He has got a keen eye for goal. He's got an extra touch if we need them. Little sort of changes where if what we're finding now over the next, and we've seen it with a few games, the teams are dropping in on us, dropping in deep. So it offers that little bit of extra movement, that little bit of attacking prowess. And he also brings, like I say, we're liking that little bit of competition for every player, because they know, and that, like we say, it keeps the interest open, one, obviously, for ourselves within training and keeping everybody on top form. So it helps us have that. We've got a good squad of players, really happy with it, and he just offers another little different dimension in that centre forward, just in case there is the occasion where Jed might not be available. But he also comes in as someone who can go and play up there, and they can both play in the same team. So they can both offer it a little bit different in different positions. Jordi can play out wide, Jed can play a little bit deeper. So there's lots of opportunity and for subtle changes if we need to go and get that goal back in games, or start early on the front foot and go and try and get a couple of goal lead that makes it easy for everyone.
I'm interested. I'll use your little segue there in the fact that teams have a habit of sitting in now because they're starting to be wary of us. And it's funny you should say that, because we've got Grimsby on Saturday, and they've conceded 37 at home and 22 away, which suggests that they actually do go away from home and probably park. Well, they call it parking the bus, but shall we say they're probably quite cagey on the break, Joel. And I think in Grimsby's position, they've had some pretty terrible results. The Artel new bounce hasn't really happened, has it, Joel?
Yeah, I mean, my interpretation of what's going on there is obviously he's quite a different style of manager to Paul Hurst. We all saw the Crew side that he managed a few years ago, and they were very much focused about having quite good technical young players who were knocking about on the deck a bit more, and like Paul Hurst is generally a bit more of a kind of direct manager. So I guess, yeah, and I guess kind of going through that transition is difficult. I don't know, it takes time sometimes, and it doesn't look like it's necessarily settling that well. And obviously in the short term, it's led to the fact that I know it looks like Forest Green is sort of relatively adrift, but Forest Green have made a good appointment in Steve Cotterill, so maybe they'll catch up. Who knows? So maybe it does put them in a bit of immediate peril, even if it has got the potential to pay off long term. It's how it goes sometimes. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see how they're how they're going to go against us. Obviously, that's I didn't realize actually that they had that kind of difference in how many goals they conceded away from home. Actually, so yeah, maybe there will be a bit more of a firm setup and kind of bedding in and making sure that we're not going to get making sure that they've got numbers behind the ball. But at the same time, it'll be interesting to see how much they are trying to implement more of a passing style. So yeah, it'll be interesting because it sounds like at the very least it'll be quite a different concept and quite a different team to the Walsall one that we faced on Tuesday.
Yeah, and I'll come to you now, Dave. Obviously, don't give too much away about Saturday, but you must have seen them. Have they changed their style? They were very much when we lost 3-2 there in the league earlier in the season. When we played quite well and up until they equalised, and then we had a silly 15 minutes where we went to pieces, found ourselves 3-1 down, got back to 3-2 and dominated the proceedings. But they were very, very get it forward early, get it in the box, pick up the pieces. Are we expecting the same thing, or are they a bit subtler now?
No, they do try and play. When they get it right, they play some good stuff, and they are a team that is capable. It's a totally, from what we've seen, it's a different style from what they were early in the season. They are trying to play more football. I think one or two teams have caught them on the break and done some good things where they've been left open. And they have, like I say, I think even some of them games, I think one of them games 5-5 lived through.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
So they are capable of scoring goals. So, and I think you touched on it earlier with even teams down in where we've got the difference between 16th place and 6th place is 3 to 4 points. Every team is capable in this league. So I think we've always got to be we're wary of what teams can do as well as what if we can implement what we want into games that we will come out on top if we get everything right. But you've got to make sure everything's right for you to come out and win these games, because no matter which team is in the league, they are capable of any sort of result, as you've seen over the last couple of weeks with teams. Everyone, I think there's, like I say, a lot of surprise results, or what would people see as surprise results, but everyone's capable in the league. And they have got a few good players in there that can cause you a few problems with. Obviously, Danny Rose scored a couple last time, and he's a good experienced player. So we've got to be wary of what they're capable of doing. But obviously, us being on the front foot and trying to implement our style on them, that's hopefully where we'll cause them problems.
Well, it's one of those when there's a clash of styles, it can prove either a help or a hindrance, depending on how you apply yourself, can't it? But obviously, if they're going to sort of like keep it on the carpet and play it around a bit, that would probably suit us, because we're quite good at chasing down and getting the ball back and implementing our style. So I take that as a fairly positive, hopefully. But as I said, I'm the most useless tipster in the world, so I'm not going to say what score it was. But it's one thing that surprised me, Charlie, which must please the club, is that Grimsby have not sold Grimsby absolutely nothing to play for, but they must be fancying a day out at the Lancashire coast, because they've sold nearly 500 tickets.
Yeah,
and it's not the easiest place in the world to get to from Grimsby, is it?
Well, they just want to come and see the sights, have the pies, don't they? That's all. No, it's going to be a good game. They won obviously earlier in the season, so they probably might be thinking they might get another win. But listening to the alternative podcast, Dave Salmon's podcast, who had a Grimsby podcast host on. I don't know if you listened to it yet, but he was absolutely berating the new management and saying how the fans are very unhappy, and that it wasn't a happy camp in the club at the moment. So that's just from his. I don't know anything about it, but that's his version of things. But hopefully going to come and try and get a result on Saturday to get back on track. I think what most of the fan base seem to be saying is they'll be okay because Forest Green and Sutton have got adrift. But if you look at the league table, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think Forest Green are only about 6 points behind.
No, they are. Yeah. And as
Yeah,
Joel
it'd be
said,
good. We'll welcome them with open arms, and they can try as many pies they want, and hopefully lose 5-0.
yeah, it's going to be interesting. But I touch on something that we've touched on already, and the fact that it is quite a close league. And looking at the results recently, Wrexham, Stockport, imperious for about 2 months, and then all of a sudden defeats, draws when you're least expecting it, and all of a sudden it's closed up at the top. Crew have had a fairly good run.
Barrow have lost 2-3 in a row.
Yeah, Barrow had lost 5. You know, 3
Shouldn't have
weeks.
got rid of Jed Garner, should they?
But
I don't know who they brought in. I don't know who they brought in instead. I don't know.
yeah. I can't remember. Some centre forward from Burton who seems to be doing all right, but his name escapes me.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck to Cole. I bear it, Cole no ill will. I know plenty do for fairly obvious reasons, but I don't, because obviously, Cole was part of the promotion team with Sully and Carlos and Aaron Wildig, and that's the nature of football, isn't it? But there you go. So it could be quite interesting on Saturday. We don't know really what to expect, but the one thing that I keep, but I'm trying not to get excited, but it would be nice to win, and I will take whatever comes to us. But when we get beat, we seem to concede a few, but when we win, we only win by a goal. So our goal difference is always just below. And I'm just like, we're always on a minus. And if we are going to go for the playoffs, obviously that will cause us an issue, because it's like an extra point, isn't it? To be honest, Dave.
Yeah, it is important. Like we said, it's just I think 1 or 2. We look at the first goal on Tuesday. JB's gone out and put a decent block in, and it's deflected straight to there. So we can say 1 or 2 little bits of rubber green where their blocks went straight to their players. So we're hoping that we get a little bit of ball run our way, and we are happy because we have obviously the recent fixtures, we've been creating quite a few good chances, and I think if we can do that early on, hopefully on Saturday, and take a couple, I think the confidence will grow, and I think we've got another game where we will take them chances and hopefully get a bit more of a positive goal difference for ourselves.
Yeah, our fingers crossed too.
I was talking to the Wimbledon guys on Saturday, and they were saying that in the last 10 years, apart from when they got promoted, the highest they finished is 16th. Yeah, and for 9 years they've been losing nearly every week, especially in League One, where they were just surviving like we were. Yeah. They were saying how exciting it is to be like in a dogfight for the playoffs with 1-2 points in. Everyone's beating everyone, even when they're losing, they're nearly winning. It's really exciting time. Tranmere losing 3-2 to us and beating Stockport 4-0. It's ridiculous. Mansfield winning 9-2. It's really, really exciting times, and people want to enjoy the football. They want to. It's really crap going on in the world at the moment. People want to be cheered up on a Saturday, and I think League Two is definitely doing that this season. Really, really exciting.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And I'm staring at the league table, and I think this was before Tuesday. It was before Tuesday night. It was Monday night. I was staring at it. And just out for a bit of fun, you just added up, and there was 11 teams with a plus goal difference and 13 with a minus goal difference. And I was like, bloody hell, but there's some goals flying about all over the place, Joel. And like David already said, that 5-5 at Grimsby is like, what the hell? 9-2 Mansfield. It's certainly a tight league, and it's become tighter in the last 3 weeks with everybody throwing results away, Joel.
Yeah, no, it's funny you mentioned. I remember last Tuesday, not last Tuesday, but the Tuesday before that, when we beat when we beat Tranmere, there was obviously it was a full round of fixtures across the EFL night that night. And I think there was something like over I can't remember what it was, but like a couple of 100 goals and about 3 point something goals per game, and only one game that had under 2 goals.
Yeah.
So they do seem to be flying in this season, but yeah, it's like you say, it generally is an exciting league. I think you don't quite have the financial disparities that you have in League One, where you've got clubs dropping down from the Championship, and there really is such a big financial disparity there. Whereas obviously as we kind of found being in League One, those clubs at the bottom end of League One, a lot of the time the financials aren't too dissimilar to what you've got in League Two. I mean, I say that you've got, you know, your people like your Stockports and your Wrexhams who are splashing silly money, especially Wrexham, you know. So there is a bit of that financial disparity, but I don't think it's quite across the league. It's quite as exaggerated. So you do get,
Yeah.
I think, ultimately a more exciting league. Like, you know, League Two is a very, like, you know, I know we had some tough times in it when we were struggling a bit, but you know, generally it is quite an exciting league where like random silly things happen, and you know, what more can you want than random silly things happen in the league?
Yeah, so my précis of League Two, which I should be on Dave Sutton's podcast really, because it's the people who are going to do well with the least crap defence. That's the way I'm looking at it, because everybody's capable of scoring. There's been some crazy results. So if you can manage to keep a clean sheet now and again, you stand a pretty good chance of at least getting in the playoffs. But we shall
Look
see.
at Notts County; they did
Yeah.
so well for so long, but they're letting so many their
Exactly.
goals against it. So many goals against.
Yeah.
It's over 2 a game, I think. So realistically, they're a really good team, and they've panned us. Fitz,
Right.
Fitz, you here when Notts County? You started there.
No, I came in just after that. So
Oh,
Well,
right,
it wasn't,
well,
it
that's
got
wasn't
away
okay.
with that
Fitz's
one.
fault.
It's all down
It
to you,
wasn't
mate.
Fitz's
Yeah.
fault.
That was so depressing. So
Yeah.
depressing. 5-0 after 47 minutes, and you think this team are amazing, but apart from that game, they've been shipping so many goals.
Yeah.
So it's hard to see how they're going to make the playoffs in the end if they keep letting 2-3 a game, because they're not going to score 3 or 4 a game, are they? Probably.
Well, not unless they play us. Joke.
No. I think,
We
like
drew
I think
0-0
you
in
said
there.
there, even Doncaster the other week picking up 5 goals. We obviously went away and beat them
Yeah.
with 5 goals, and then there is some random results that where it's going for you. You don't know whether it's going to come. Obviously, we've said we take a few 1-0s just to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
a clean
Hey,
sheet
listen.
and the 3 points. But
I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining.
Obviously,
I was asking the question, but I'm not complaining. I'll take London Saturday. No problem.
we take a few 1-0s, take the points, and then obviously get the positive. But obviously, for everybody, we as coaches, as players, they want to excite everybody, so they want to go and score more goals. So I think that's something that we want to try and bring in. But obviously, having that attacking style, but having that stability at the back as well for us to build on.
Right, before I come to you, Mr. Fitzgerald, to talk about your sort of like personal journey and how you ended up with the picking the short straw and being with us, just give us a quick update if you can on the injury situation with Stu Moore, Donald Love, JJ, and anybody else who's on the treatment table.
Yeah. Stu's back. Been doing a little bit on the pitch with physios now, so he's getting closer to returning. I don't think he's a little bit closer. JJ's doing again physical work now and on his program to returning, so he's a little bit longer than Stu, but hopefully next 4 to 6 weeks we'd like to see him on the pitch.
Right.
Hopefully, with no obviously complications coming back. Donald's a little bit longer. Just he's having sort of little reactions to the injury, so we've just got to bide our time and monitor him. And then Brandon's going to be he's 6 to 8 weeks at least. I think he's just had an operation on the hamstring injury, so he's going to be a little bit longer. It's just waiting now and reviewing him after a couple of weeks when he goes back and sees a specialist, and then we start getting answers from there. But all positive from that.
So, when we had Stuart Moore on a few weeks ago, he was looking at hopefully being back around early April. So he's still on target for that.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for. It's he's like I say, he's started a little bit where he's outside now. So hopefully we can again. It's just important that we don't rush him back and make any complications with it. But it's about them coming back at the right time for themselves and for the squad now. But hopefully he's on the right path now. So it should be, like we say, hopefully around April we might get him back around then.
Brilliant, thank you. So, right, coming to you now. So go on then. Tell me how did you end up here? And first of all, how did you end up here and getting the short straw doing the podcast? But how did you walked into you've come into the club? Obviously, there's been ructions going on. Obviously, we started with a different manager. We got Jed in. Obviously, you were known to Jed. Talk us through it.
Yeah, coming on the podcast, Matt just asked. So I was more than happy to do that. We want to, obviously, we're quite open, myself and Jed, to doing different things and wanting to try and keep everybody and communicate with everyone as much as possible where we can. Because we know, obviously, my background coming and me and Jed working together at the previous club, and we know it's important having the fan base working within the club, and you've got to work with everyone. Everyone's got to be together, so you want to try and keep everybody involved, and that's something. And we want to create that atmosphere and that environment for everybody. So my journey over, I've mainly been youth development, producing players to get up to the first team. So working mainly from lads 13 to basically the first team up to 23. And preparing them to make that step over time into first team football. So I've been lucky enough to have them opportunities and management staff to being open to the way I want to do it and listening in and taking the opportunities and moving lads forward. And then with hopefully my style and how I am, it worked well with Jed. So when the opportunity came up, he contacted me and said, "Are you interested? I think this role could suit you as the professional development league coach and first team coach, and assessing, like I say, young players, working with the staff in the academy who have obviously had previous relationships with Wayne and Stu Drummond. Yeah, working across with them, obviously looking at what we can do for the future for some lads from the academy coming through. So my role was to come in and try and hopefully help with that, and obviously build a positive relationship with lads in the first team and get them working and trying to get the best out of them as well. So,
and obviously we have the unfortunate situation with John McMahon, which has been we've covered, and it hasn't an unfortunate situation because he had a great effect on the squad, John. But obviously, you've lost the body there, so I suppose you've had to step in and do some stuff there as well, have you?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's different learning things for me. You get to learn different things every day when you're coming in. Obviously, John's been an integral part of the club for a long time, so he knew the club well and how to do things. So I've obviously knew Mac a little bit from the past, coming across his paths on different things. So it's always interesting to learn different things with people like him. And then again, this little, obviously with John moving on now, it's give me a little bit more of an opportunity just to, as we were anyway, continuing what I'm doing with every now and a little bit of extra responsibility that the gaffer passes on to me when needed. But it's we've got a good set of staff. So you've got Baz Roach and Les. Obviously, they've been at the club a long time.
Yeah, they're like old comfy chairs. They've been here that long.
Yeah. So when you've got a staff team, the lads Charlie, Ollie, and Jack and Josh in the background as well. We get on really well, the staff. So that passes on to the players as well, who have got a positive changing room. So it makes life a lot easier because you're just going from day to day, and the lads, the environment's great, and we want to try and keep it that way. So
before I hand you on to Joel, who's probably ask you some more probing questions, my daft question is: so you and Jed, a Manc and a Scouser, how does that work?
I don't know. I think I'm one of the few Manx that some of the Scousers seem to like. We've just got these similarities in personality and humour. We know we can bounce off each other. We know we can be honest with each other if something is not right. And I think that's where Manx and Scousers we are quite upfront, and we'll say what we need to say when we need to. So, and we know we can also take it without it being personal. It's just obviously because we want to be successful. So we bounce a lot of ideas off each other, and it just seems to gel. So it's worked quite well for us so far.
So, United or City?
I'm United.
Is Jed's a Blue Nose, isn't he?
No, Liverpool.
Is he? Oh, listen, I do not know how you get on. I've no
Exactly.
idea how you get on. You look at Facebook, dear God.
Yeah, honestly, it's quite interesting that we actually, we don't fall out. But
that is, I'll tell you what, that's, yeah, you'll be taking over from Kofi Annan. Honestly, arbitration service, you two, bloody hell. I don't know how you do that. But then again, you know, this is proper football, not superstar football. Yeah. So there you go. I suppose it makes sense, really. Joel, your floor.
Yeah, I think that just trying to look at kind of where your background and where you come from is obviously. I think you see quite a few comments from people in the media sometimes doing a disservice to people who work in coaching and in management who haven't played the game professionally, and I don't like it when I see those comments. I think they're quite snobbish and naive, really. And I wonder what your kind of reaction is when you see people out there who are like, oh, somebody who hasn't played the pro game shouldn't be able to comment on it and stuff.
I think you've got to have it's without it being. I think you've got to have sort of played the game, whatever level to a good level to get the understanding. So I think there's been a big shift change in recent years with a lot more of coaching staff who have not played at a professional level, but have obviously earned a good understanding and earned a way through the game. So there is now, I think you'll see there's a lot of development type coaches who are getting the bigger jobs because of obviously higher profile managers. But I think if I say it from a personal note that I've worked a long time within a professional environment to make the steps up. And as I say, you're working with players, so whether they're 16 or 30 onwards, they still need that little bit of guidance, and you're working with them to try and get the best out of them at any stage. And a lot of the players now want that, so they're quite happy with you coming in, whether as long as you've shown your understanding why you're doing it. I think that's where it sort of helps. But having them experienced people around you who've been through that type of system, I think is always helpful. So the gaffer, Baz, obviously playing at a good level and having a good career behind them. And I've been lucky enough myself to work with a lot of players and staff who have been ex-players or come through that environment that give you a little bit of guidance to help you, you know, when you come into this. So I've been quite lucky with that. But I think there is a lot of good coaches out there who may not have played the game, but they've still got to get that. I think the experience behind them to gain your understanding the difference.
The Morecambe Mourinho, Dave.
Well,
he started off as the he started off as the translator.
yeah,
But because one idea that I've seen kind of people put forward is sort of sometimes you get people who are so naturally gifted at football, it almost makes it hard for them to empathise and really understand why players don't understand something or aren't able to do something. But I guess yourself, obviously, you play football and you're probably quite a lot better than me at football, to be fair. But but like, do you think like not being a pro and coming at it from a different angle sometimes gives you a different understanding and maybe a kind of different sense of empathy, maybe to trying to help players along and improve them.
Yeah, I think one of the key things is building relationships, because I think no matter what, when players, when staff in this environment, if you're happy, you start getting the best out of people. So I think if we can create the environment where the players are understanding what they want from myself or from the gaffer, that we can try and put that into place to benefit them, then they're a lot happier, and they start buying into more of the things that you want to implement. But obviously, it's building that relationship, building that trust, and that comes from just being a good person, or not necessarily knowing every tactical bit of knowledge. So you'll find, I think there's a key saying that a lot of players remember the coaches who actually done a little bit more off the pitch for them and things like that. They're the ones they remember, that help them develop, because it gives them the confidence to go and express themselves fuller. So that's what I think some people coming from a different angle can do, including myself.
So just kind of going a bit more into your background, you've not got a Wikipedia page to stalk, so I had to take to stalking your LinkedIn instead. But obviously, you've had a lot of your time in youth coaching and developing young players. So, what would you say? How's that kind of educated you and informed you as a coach? And what kind of things have you learned from all those experiences?
Dealing with young players, I think you have to give them a lot of information. So you have to put that a lot of work into gaining them understanding. And I think the way in youth football you get to a little bit try things with players to see how it works. So with the younger players, they're more adaptive to some of the methods that you might use, and then you can start implementing that with older players, just to see what has worked, what's not. So with youth development, there's a great, how do I put it, on bringing playing through, and the success is not just, I think I've found successful lads who may have achieved a scholarship or have gone on to be successful in business. I think there's different types of successes, but I think that's where my background, I think learning different aspects, going into data, going in more recent, you get a lot more access to that and then to go and try things with the younger players. So that's given me the opportunity to put a lot of things into place, and now put me in a position where I feel comfortable putting that in with a lot of the more senior players.
So talking of youth players, I think you spent a bit of time at Bury, didn't you? So just a quick little side from kind of talking about your career. Did you work with Ryan Cooney and Jacob Bedell at Bury?
I did, yes. Jacob was very early when I just started, and he'd already at 16 broke into the first team, and it was only a couple of months after that he got sold to Aston Villa. So, but I worked with Ryan, for 2 years. I was lucky enough with that. I spent a lot of time with Ryan Kidd, who's a Blackburn Rovers under-18s coach. Very good coach, and I managed to learn a lot of him, Mark. They were very different in how they went about things, and it allowed me to implement a different style and go in with a couple of my ideas with them. And we had they had a very good youth program there, and that has helped me develop and build relationships with a lot of other players who've moved on, and obviously then coming back into the first team here. Chris Stokes was at Bury when I was there. He was in the first team. Obviously Jacob was there, and then there's obviously one or two other players now that have built relationships that you get to know all the time.
So just one of the things you mentioned before was maybe kind of using a bit of data and how you evaluate things. And I guess one of the things I was going to ask is about scouting, because I think you've done a bit of scouting in your career. Obviously, recruitment's it's massive part of football, isn't it? So when it comes to your kind of approach with data, whether it be for scouting or match analysing, obviously there's quite a lot of people arguing on the internet about how relevant or not relevant it is. But I kind of always see it as like, something that's a good information source and can help you identify things. But obviously, it's really obviously you do it, but then you watch and you use your own eyes and your own interpretation as well. So I wonder what's your kind of approach to integrating data and the eye test and all that.
Yeah, I'm one for a shared philosophy on it. I don't think one outweighs the other. I think it depends on, again, what you're looking for. So different things for different players. So we might look at some of the stats, but you've still got to go and get the eyes on the player, find out information in the background, what type of character they are, what obviously motivates them, having that, like, again, and then looking at what type of player you're looking for. So you can go into I think some people can manipulate the stats to suit what you want, but it depends on the KPIs that you're looking for at the time, and they can change and be different for every player and the individual, every team. But obviously, we look into them to see like certain key things that we might look for is obviously around what we get with a GPS stats on players' data, what the running, what type of running they've done, and then obviously highlighting what type of recovery they might need, or if they need a little bit more to continue in that. So we're constantly monitoring all types of things within that, and then using different systems for recruiting players. So yeah, it's just looking across that and seeing how the comparisons against other players are to see whether they obviously fit into what we're trying to do.
So you could have mentioned recruiting players there, and my kind of assumption is of somebody like yourself coming into football from not being a pro initially. What's that like building because obviously part of you got the kind of data aspect of recruiting players, but I guess there's also the kind of having a contact base and people you can phone up or text and call upon for a bit of information. So what's that like building a contact base when you've not had kind of had that professional playing career in the first instance?
Yeah, I think obviously because of when the football environment is quite a small world. So as you start getting to know people, you build relationships. Spent a lot of time going to watching games, watching players, watching different teams, getting an understanding of that. So then you right across from obviously young players at different type of category clubs, all the way up to first team football to non-league, to try and see if you can find them different players that can progress from non-league into league football. So getting out there and being around the environment and sort of building relationships, as I've said, with different people, and a lot of honesty, going in, speaking to them, giving your truth to them on the type of players you've got, what you're looking for, what can be potential. Then over time you start building that type of relationship, and then you obviously now a massive part of football is player agents. So you develop relationships with certain agents because obviously you start dealing with them regular because they're in that environment around the similar players within the system. So you get to know them a little bit more because they've got a number of players within your club. So it's just constantly, like I say, building relationships and being out there, and that's where you build your contacts. And that's again the same for the manager. He's got a lot of contacts from his time in the game, and then being around different environments, going out. It's just constant. So yeah, that's where it all comes from.
And just kind of just to finish off, just going back onto the pitch, I think in recent weeks I think we're really starting to see what I think Jed has been wanting to implement. So I think when he first came to the club, he mentioned what he was trying to, certain directions that he wanted to build the playing style. I think while we're still maintaining that kind of quite pacey attack and the counter attacking and everything, there's also a bit more of a focus on keeping the ball on the deck and passing it around. And I'm really enjoying seeing some of the movement that we're kind of showing on the ball. Like we've had like Tutonda come central quite a lot. and Benny sometimes moves into those kind of fullback areas. I remember Charlie Brown against Tranmere, he was coming across to the other wing. That's where he scored his goal from. And you've got all players all moving all over the pitch, and it's really interesting to see that happen. So how have you managed to kind of achieve that in the past kind of couple of months that Jed, and obviously you've been here?
I think, like we say, because of the relationship myself and Jed have got, we've got similar sort of ideas on playing style that we want to be a positive attacking team. We want to play forward. We want to attack quickly. But with that, you've got to just build it up over time. So I think little different ideas come in. You want to try and implement a style on your style on other teams, and like I say, but you've also got to, we assess every team. You know, we spend a lot of time. Charlie, the analyst, goes through 3 or 4 games, and he comes in with ideas for us. Myself, the gaffer, we watch games, so we want to try and capitalise on opposition, what we feel opposition weaknesses are. But with that, we've got to give the players that freedom and to go and express themselves, and giving them that opportunity to be a bit more fluid. So that's where it comes from. We do a lot of work on the training around patterns of play and different movements of players. So it's about them building that in the time, for them to recognise when to make their movements. So, like I say, we've worked on different patterns over the last 6 or 7 weeks that, and now they're starting to build on them themselves, and they're starting to, obviously, once they cross the line, it comes down to them and them recognising the opportunities for these to come about. So it's about us trusting them to continue that as well. So I think some of that keeps coming now, and we've seen it from the Mansfield game. We played really well, and then we've done that. And I think Tranmere, even though we went 2-0 down there, we said that's probably one of our best performances, because we had a bit of everything. They showed character, the passing on the night. I think we just dominated the game from start to finish, really. Again, it was just two chances, and they took them at the time from little errors, if we put it that way. But that's what we've got to understand. None of the players go out to do them errors deliberately, and they go out to win the game, and they're trying to do it the right way. Sometimes decisions, they make the wrong decision at that time, but we've got to go, right, okay, learn from that and build on it. So that's what we're trying to put in. And again, with more, when we have that success, then the players believe in it more, and they start doing it a bit more naturally than it being something where they're not sure, and they'll take that risk a little bit more.
That's very interesting. Thank you very much. Yeah, back over to you, Freeze.
Well, I think we're going to finish off chatting a little bit to Charlie. We've got the fans forum, which is going to take place tomorrow night. An early start, Charlie, this one, but there's quite a few of you on the panel. You're quite well stacked with luminaries, aren't you?
Yeah, it should be good session. Well overdue.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, Jed's consented to be there, which is possibly why it's an early start. But are we expecting? I mean, you know, there's going to be lots of questions probably about. Majority of people are probably asking about the ownership, so I'll leave that for that tomorrow night for that to come out. But from an on-field perspective, there can't really be much that we can complain about, really, can there?
No, it's all positive things at the moment. You know, we've just got to keep moving forward and trying to solve the ownership problem sooner rather than later, which we're trying to do.
And obviously, having the fans forum itself, it's a good thing to have at least a couple of times a season, because it, you know, with the best will in the world, we try our best on here, and also the club have got a fantastic media department. But it's not the same as getting standing up and having your question answered, which is a good thing, isn't it?
No, exactly. And I think, you know, like Dave was just saying then, Dave and Jed are very, very open. The board of directors are very open. We don't hold it. We don't tell everyone everything we can, everything, but we tell everything as much as we can do. And you know, same for the management team, and with Matt and his team and the media side, it's all really, really open. So I think people have questions they know the answers to, but they want to have their own question answered, like you said, David two Daves on the call, two Joels last week, two Daves this week. Yeah, so I just think there's not going to be anything new there tomorrow, I don't think. But you're right when you say that people want to ask their own question and have it answered to their face, really, because social media can be quite dangerous.
Yeah, you're right. And obviously, with the news that's come out in the last couple of days, I do want to touch on this and the fact that what's happened yesterday at Rochdale, where they in danger of going out of business, and also Torquay's owners announced today that he's going to stop bankrolling the club, so they need either a new owner or they're going to cut the cloth accordingly. Now, obviously, both of those in lower divisions than we are, but it seems to be a weekly occurrence at the moment that there's some football club somewhere. Something's, and this is only my personal opinion, something somewhere has got to fundamentally change, hasn't it? Because I think the problem we've got, and this is my personal opinion, is the fact that we've got the superstars who were paid an enormous amount of money, and I don't have an issue with that. But following on from that, there are teams in the Championship who are willing to bankroll and pay silly money for players to drop down so that they can get into the promised land of the Premier League. And there's a knock-on effect of that down each of the divisions, isn't there? And that's, to a certain extent, and that's what we suffer from, isn't it, being a small club?
Exactly. But the thing is, at the end of the day, Morecambe Football Club Limited is a business. And the utility costs have gone up, inflation, interest rates, and the cost of everything, in the world's gone up in cost. And people's spending power has gone down, so they can't spend money on so much football. So it's going to happen. We're in a recession. It's not. We love talking about trying to win 5 million against Grimsby on Saturday, but the environment outside the football club in the world is not great.
No, it's not. You're right.
But Morecambe Football Club, we're not in that sort of position. We're far from it. We're a very saleable club. We've got. I'm not going to. They're going to talk about the fans forum tomorrow night. Not going to cover it now. But we're making positive movements, trying to find a new owner. There's lots of interest. It's a great buy. There's no debt, as you know. It's a really, really good, really, really great club to invest in. We're just trying to find the right person. It's exciting times for Morecambe Football Club.
And I think it's a point worth making that it is, but I'm not religious at all, but for the grace of God, we could be in the same situation as we've touched on before, Reading, numerous other Football League clubs who are teetering on the brink, so we're led to understand, but also people in the National League, Joel, paying too much money to players to try and get out of it.
I think we just need to thank Chris Stokes for his help with the wonderful 0-0 draw against Coventry in the final day of the 2017-18 season that kept us up. We're going to ultimately that's the difference, really. Torquay and Reading, when that money, they're in the National League without the payments that you get in the EFL, and I guess it does make you look back. And I know appointing Derek was definitely the move forward that was needed, as we've very much seen in recent years. But you've got to give a bit of credit to Jim Bentley when we were quite cash strapped and keeping us above the line and keeping us in the Football League. Because I think as we see with the differing direction of the two clubs, ultimately, I think being in the EFL is such a valuable thing. And so hopefully long may it continue.
Yeah, and I'll come to you, Dave. Obviously, you're working in the game. It's a difficult balancing act, but from our position here, it's great looking at teams like Stockport, as already been touched upon, and particularly Wrexham, who've got sugar daddies. And yeah, I suppose it is a position of jealousy from our point of view. But you look at them, and they're living the dream, aren't they? And that's what all football fans want, isn't it?
Yeah, I think everybody wants that. Every fan wants progression and to push forward. But obviously, I think even for myself, we've got to have the understanding of what's got to be sustainable and what's best for everybody at the club, because you've got to continue that. And I think you touched on how Wimbledon have come around, and it's a fan club, and how they're progressing and building new things. I've had the experience of being at Bury just obviously when they were took out the league, and now they're trying to come back here, obviously come back through the leagues. And it's not nice to be part of when you're in them type of situations. We don't, no one, again, as players, coaches, staff, anyone within the club, we want the best for everyone, and it's not, you know what I mean, it's not nice, even though they're a rival club in some ways, you know, they're fighting for that same spot as you. You don't want that happening to any club, because you know, with the smaller clubs, as we're classed as, the people who, as I've said, are within the club, they've been there a long time, so they are part of your community. They are part of, like Charlie said as well, that everybody looks forward to the Saturday coming, watching the football and having a good time. And you know that it's you want that family type of atmosphere where people come still along, and I think that's where lower league clubs still offer that.
Yeah.
What I can summarise it with is, with the resources that we've got, with the position we're in, it couldn't be going any better, I don't think. We're very, very, very privileged to have who we've got on board. You know, from the coaching staff, the playing staff, everyone across the club. You know, Adele, the new club secretary, is doing a fantastic job. Started as receptionist a couple of years ago. You know, she's done amazing. All the people we've got are just fantastic, and careful what you wish for. You know.
You're right, and I think you make the point, Dave, and it's quite correct, and it's something that we've said over the years, that Morecambe Football Club, no matter what division they're in, hopefully is always going to be that football you can touch, because it's local, and you know, I don't think, hopefully we'll never forget our roots. Well, fingers crossed anyway. So anything from the trust, Joel, to finish off? Apart from obviously, you know, we're still ongoing discussions with the police and what have you regarding the demonstration of support march.
Yeah, no, I think that's all kind of coming together really. I think everything with the police has been pretty constructive. In terms of organisation, the route that's going to all be mapped out. So yeah, it's looking like that's all coming together fine really, and should be going ahead on just before the Wrexham game. So just keep an eye on social media for any more news and updates on what's happening there.
So we'll wrap up this week by saying that we'll have a little précis of what happens at the France Forum next week. Obviously, we'll hopefully have a tame board member who'll come on and chat about that. But thanks to you, Charlie, for coming on tonight. And are you at the Grimsby game Saturday? Because obviously
I'm not Saturday, not this weekend, Dave. I'm representing the club at the Carabao Cup final on Sunday.
Oh right. Oh, you see, this is where I nail my colours to the mast. And obviously, as a long-term Chelsea fan, I'd love to see us win it. But after losing the FA Cup final and the Carabao Cup final on penalties to the Red Noses, I'm not confident, because I thought we were the better side in one of those games and the equivalent of them in the other one. And I just think they've got the Indian sign on us at the moment. But there you go. Fingers crossed. Enjoy that, Charlie.
Thank you.
Last time I went, we beat Tottenham, which was, I think it was 2015. So, and the club very kindly got me tickets, and they got Glenn tickets as well, and he drove, and he's a Tottenham fan. Happy days. So thanks, Dave, for coming on. I hope you found that you know, not as intimidating as you'd hoped.
No, I've enjoyed it. Thanks. No,
you're all right.
Good.
Thanks for coming on. Take our best wishes back to the dressing room. Good luck on Saturday. And for God's sake, tell them, when somebody asks, don't go, "Oh, I'm not going on a podcast." You know, we're not that terrifying, are we? Are we, Joel? Are we?
All right, baby.
This has been ShrimpNet. Thank you for listening or watching. We'll see you next week when hopefully we'll have more positive things to talk about.